Imagine this. It's 1325, and you're a wandering tribe looking for a place to settle. Your priests say you'll know you've found home when you see an eagle perched on a cactus, eating a snake. Sounds impossible, right? Then you find it, on a swampy island in the middle of a lake. So what do? You build a city there. Not just any city, one of the largest, most advanced cities in the world, with pyramids, floating gardens, aqueducts, and a population of 200,000 people. That city was Tenochtitlan, capital of the Aztec Empire. And when Spanish conquistadors first saw it in 1519, they thought they were looking at a dream. One of them wrote, "We were amazed. It was like the enchantments they tell of in legend." But just 2 years later, the city was destroyed and the empire was gone. So how do you build something that magnificent? And how do you lose it that fast? I'm Jack. This is Blueprints of Power. And today we're diving into one of the most fascinating and tragic stories in history. Let's go.
Schemes in the shadows, plans in the light. Kings and conquerors chasing the night. Brick by brick, their stories grow tall. But every empire learns how to fall.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Blueprints of Power. I'm Jack.
I'm Lily.
And I'm Charlie.
Today we're covering the Aztec Empire. And honestly, this one hit me differently while researching it.
Why is that?
Because it's this incredible civilization, sophisticated, powerful, artistic, and it gets completely wiped out in basically a blink of an eye, 2 years from first contact with Europeans to total collapse.
It's one of the fastest falls we've covered, for sure. And it's important to remember that the Aztecs were at their peak when the Spanish arrived. This wasn't a declining empire. It was thriving.
So what happened?
We'll get there. But first, let's talk about what they built. The Aztec Empire at its height controlled most of central Mexico, about 200,000 square miles. They had somewhere between 5 and 6 million people under their control.
And their capital, Tenochtitlan, was one of the largest cities in the world, bigger than Paris or London at the time.
Wait, bigger than European capitals?
Way bigger. Tenochtitlan had about 200,000 to 250,000 people. It had massive pyramids, elaborate marketplaces, sophisticated engineering, and it was built on an island in a lake.
How do you build a city on a lake?
That's what we're going to explore. The Aztecs were incredible engineers, fierce warriors, sophisticated astronomers, talented artists, and also, they practiced human sacrifice on a scale that shocked even their contemporaries.
Yeah, we should probably address that up front. The Aztec Empire was complex. They created beautiful things and brutal things. We're going to talk about both, honestly.
Exactly. This isn't about judging a civilization by modern standards. It's about understanding them in their context and learning from their story.
I'm ready. Let's do this.
All right, Lily, take us back. Where do the Aztecs come from?
Okay, so Britain starts as just an island. England, Scotland, Wales, they're not even united into one country until 1707. And for a long time, they're not a major power. Spain, France, the Ottoman Empire, those are the big players.
So they're wanderers.
Exactly. And when they arrive in the Valley of Mexico around 1300, all the good land is already taken by other city-states. The Mexica are seen as outsiders, kind of rough, uncivilized compared to the established cities.
So nobody wants them around.
Right. They end up as mercenaries fighting for other city-states. But according to Aztec legend, their god Huitzilopochtli, the god of war and the sun, told them they'd find their home where they saw an eagle on a cactus eating a snake.
That's super specific.
Very specific. And in 1325, they claim they found it on a swampy island in Lake Texcoco. And that's where they start building Tenochtitlan.
On a swampy island. That seems not ideal.
Actually, it's genius. The island gives them natural defenses. Enemies can't easily attack them. The lake provides fish and waterfowl for food, and they develop this incredible agricultural system called chinampas.
The floating gardens.
Exactly. Chinampas are like artificial islands made from woven reeds and mud. They're anchored to the lake bed, and you can grow crops on them year-round. They're incredibly productive.
So they're literally creating farmland from nothing.
Yes, and they build causeways, raised roads, connecting the island to the mainland. They build aqueducts to bring fresh water in. They construct dikes to control flooding and separate fresh water from salt water in the lake.
So, they're like master engineers.
They really are. And the city starts growing fast. By the early 1400s, Tenochtitlan is becoming powerful. And in 1428, something crucial happens. They form the Triple Alliance.
What's that?
Tenochtitlan teams up with two other city-states, Texcoco and Tlacopan, to overthrow the dominant power in the region, a city called Azcapotzalco, and they succeed.
So they're teaming up to take down the bully.
Exactly, and after that victory, the Triple Alliance becomes the dominant force in central Mexico. But really, Tenochtitlan is the senior partner. They're calling the shots.
So now they're in charge.
Yes. And they start expanding aggressively, especially under emperors like Moctezuma I and Ahuitzotl. They're conquering surrounding territories, demanding tribute, and building an empire.
How are they conquering people?
Military might. The Aztec warriors are fierce and well-trained. They use obsidian-tipped weapons. Obsidian is volcanic glass that's sharper than steel. They have this weapon called a macuahuitl, which is like a wooden sword with obsidian blades embedded in it. It can decapitate a horse.
That's terrifying.
Very terrifying. And Aztec warfare has this interesting aspect. They're not always trying to kill enemies in battle. They're trying to capture them.
Why capture them?
For sacrifice. In Aztec religion, the gods needed human blood to keep the sun rising and the world functioning. So they'd capture enemy warriors and sacrifice them in religious ceremonies.
Okay, we need to talk about this because it's a big part of the Aztec story.
Absolutely. Human sacrifice was central to Aztec religion. They believed the gods had sacrificed themselves to create the world, so humans owed them a blood debt. Sacrifices happened during religious festivals, after military victories, and at the dedication of temples.
How many people are we talking about?
That's debated. Spanish accounts claim tens of thousands at major events, but historians think those numbers are exaggerated. It was probably hundreds to low thousands annually across the empire. Still a lot.
And this was normal to them?
Completely normal. From the Aztec perspective, sacrifice was honorable. Warriors who were captured and sacrificed were honored. They'd go to paradise. It was part of the cosmic order.
That's so different from our worldview.
It is. But we should also note that many cultures practiced human sacrifice in different forms. The key thing is, to the Aztecs, this was religious duty, not cruelty for its own sake, but it did make them feared and hated by the peoples they conquered.
So conquered people are not happy.
Not at all. The Aztecs demand tribute from conquered cities, gold, food, textiles, and people for sacrifice. Some cities hate Aztec rule and are looking for any chance to rebel or escape.
That's going to be important later, isn't it?
Very important. But for now, by the early 1500s, the Aztec Empire is at its peak. Tenochtitlan is magnificent, somewhere between 200,000 and 250,000 people. There's the Templo Mayor, a massive pyramid temple at the center of the city. There are palaces, schools, markets, gardens, zoos.
Sos?
Moctezuma II, the emperor when the Spanish arrived, had a zoo with jaguars, eagles, snakes, and exotic birds. He also had a botanical garden and an aquarium.
That's actually amazing.
It really is. The market in Tenochtitlan was enormous. Some estimates say 60,000 people visited it daily. You could buy everything: food, pottery, obsidian tools, jewelry, chocolate, vanilla, exotic feathers.
So this is a sophisticated, wealthy civilization.
Absolutely. And that's the world the Spanish walk into in 1519.
Okay, pause. If you're loving this episode, and how could you not? The Aztecs are incredible. Hit that follow button. Subscribe to Blueprints of Power wherever you're listening. We're covering all the legendary empires, and we've got so many more coming up. The Spanish Empire, Ancient Egypt, the Inca Empire, Persia, all the heavy hitters. You don't want to miss any of them. Share this episode with your friends, your history teacher, your parents, anyone who loves learning about how power works. Post it on social media, text it to people, spread the word, and please, leave us a review. Seriously, it makes such a huge difference in helping new listeners find the show. We read every single one, and we love hearing from you. Alright, back to the Aztecs. Because we're about to get into how they ran their empire and what happened when the Spanish showed up. Let's go.
All right, so Tenochtitlan is this amazing city. The Aztecs are at their peak. How do they actually run their empire?
Let me break down their recipe for power. Ingredient number 1, military strength and tribute. The Aztec military is the backbone of the empire. Every Aztec boy is trained as a warrior from childhood.
Like mandatory military service?
Basically, and warriors can rise in rank based on how many captives they take in battle. There are elite warrior societies, the Jaguar warriors and the Eagle warriors, who wear distinctive costumes and have special privileges.
So it's about proving yourself.
Exactly, and the military isn't just for defense, it's for conquest and enforcing tribute. Conquered cities have to send regular tribute to Tenochtitlan. The Aztecs kept detailed records of what each city owed.
What kind of tribute?
Everything. Maize, beans, cacao, cotton, feathers, jade, gold, pottery, and people for sacrifice. The tribute system makes Tenochtitlan incredibly wealthy.
So they're basically taxing everyone.
Heavy taxation backed by military threat. If you don't pay, the army shows up. But here's ingredient number 2. They don't fully conquer cities. The Aztecs use what historians call hegemonic empire. They leave local rulers in place as long as they pay tribute and don't rebel.
So it's like, you can keep your government, just send us money.
Exactly. It's cheaper and easier than trying to directly govern everyone, but it also means conquered peoples don't necessarily feel loyal to the Aztecs.
So they're ruling through fear, not love.
Pretty much. Ingredient number 3, sophisticated administration. The emperor, called the Huitlatawani, is at the top. He's elected by a council from the royal family, so it's not just automatic inheritance.
Wait, they elect their emperor?
Kind of. It's limited to the royal family, but yes. And under the emperor, there's a complex bureaucracy. Judges, tax collectors, military leaders, priests. They keep detailed records using a writing system with pictographs and glyphs.
So they have writing?
Yes. They had codices, folding books made from bark paper that recorded history, tribute, laws, and astronomical observations. Most were destroyed by the Spanish, but a few survived.
That's so sad.
It really is. We lost so much knowledge. Ingredient number 4, religion and ritual. Religion permeated every aspect of Aztec life. The calendar was sacred. They had a 365-day solar calendar and a 260-day ritual calendar that interlocked.
2 calendars?
2 calendars that worked together to create 52-year cycles. And at the end of each cycle, they had this ceremony where they believed the world might end if they didn't perform the right rituals.
That's a lot of pressure.
Very high stakes. And ingredient number 5, engineering and urban planning. Tenochtitlan was meticulously planned. The city was divided into 4 quadrants with the Templo Mayor at the center. They had a grid system of canals and streets.
Like Venice?
Similar. People traveled by canoe through the canals. They had public buildings, schools, and the Tlachtli courts, where they played a ball game that was part sport, part ritual.
What's the ball game?
It's played with a rubber ball. The Aztecs invented rubber processing. And you have to get the ball through a stone ring without using your hands, only hips, chest, and thighs. And sometimes the losing team got sacrificed.
Okay, that's intense.
Very intense. Ingredient number 6, agriculture and food. The Chinampas we mentioned could produce 7 crops per year. The Aztecs grew maize, beans, squash, tomatoes, cacao, chilies, and amaranth. They didn't have wheat, cattle, horses, or pigs. Those came from Europe.
So no livestock?
They had dogs and turkeys for meat, but that's about it. Most people ate a diet heavy in corn, beans, and vegetables. Chocolate, made from cacao, was a luxury drink for nobles and warriors.
Wait, the Aztecs invented hot chocolate?
They invented chocolate drinks, not sweet like ours. They added chili peppers and spices. It was bitter and spicy.
That actually sounds good.
And ingredient 7, art and culture. The Aztecs were incredible artists. They created elaborate stone sculptures, gold jewelry, featherwork. They made entire cloaks and headdresses from tropical bird feathers. They had poetry, music, and dance.
So it's not all warfare and sacrifice.
Not at all. There was a rich cultural life. The market in Tenochtitlan was a center of social life. People would go not just to buy things, but to see people, share news, hear stories.
So it's a vibrant, sophisticated society.
Very much so. And when the Spanish conquistador Hernán Cortés and his men first saw Tenochtitlan in November 1519, they were stunned. One soldier, Bernal Díaz del Castillo, wrote that it was like the enchantments in the Book of Amadis. Some of our soldiers asked whether it was not all a dream.
So the Spanish were impressed.
They were amazed, but that amazement wouldn't last long.
What happens when Cortés arrives?
Before we get into the fall of the Aztec Empire, I want to thank you for listening. This is a heavy episode emotionally because we're talking about the destruction of an entire civilization, but it's an important story to understand. If you're finding value in these episodes, please share Blueprints of Power with someone who'd appreciate it. History helps us understand the present, and the more people thinking critically about power, the better. Next week, we're covering ancient Egypt. Pyramids, pharaohs, mummies, and a civilization that lasted over 3,000 years. It's going to be amazing. And if you haven't already, please leave us a rating or review. It genuinely helps us grow the show and reach more listeners. All right, time to talk about how the Aztec Empire fell in just 2 years. Let's get into it.
Okay, so it's 1519 and the Spanish arrive. What happens?
Hernán Cortés lands on the Gulf Coast of Mexico with about 600 men, 16 horses, and some cannons and muskets. That's it. He's facing an empire of millions.
So how does this tiny group pose any threat?
A few reasons. First, technology. The Spanish have steel swords and armor, guns, and cannons. The Aztecs have obsidian weapons that can't penetrate steel armor. The Spanish have horses, which the Aztecs have never seen before. Some initially think horse and rider are one creature.
So there's a technology gap.
A big one. Second, Cortés is incredibly strategic. As he's marching inland toward Tenochtitlan, he's making alliances with cities that hate the Aztecs, especially Tlaxcala, a city that had resisted Aztec conquest for years.
So he's using their enemies against them.
Exactly. By the time Cortés reaches Tenochtitlan, he has thousands of indigenous allies fighting with him. This isn't just a Spanish conquest. It's a rebellion of Aztec subjects.
So the empire's own people turn on them.
Many do. Because remember, the tribute system and the human sacrifice made the Aztecs feared and hated. Third factor, Moctezuma II's response. When Moctezuma hears about the Spanish, he's conflicted. Some Aztec prophecies talked about the god Quetzalcoatl returning from the east.
Wait, they think Cortés is a god.
That's debated by historians. It might be a myth created later, but Moctezuma definitely hesitates. Instead of immediately attacking the Spanish, he sends gifts and ambassadors. Eventually, he invites Cortés into Tenochtitlan in November 1519.
That seems like a mistake.
It's a huge mistake. Cortés and his men enter the city peacefully, and then they take Moctezuma hostage in his own palace.
They kidnap the emperor?
Basically, they keep him under house arrest and use him to control the city. For months, the Spanish are living in Tenochtitlan, and the Aztecs are confused about what to do.
Why don't they just attack?
Partially because Moctezuma tells them not to, though historians debate whether he's trying to protect his people or if he's lost his authority. But in May 1520, things explode. While Cortés is away dealing with another Spanish expedition, his second-in-command, Pedro de Alvarado, massacres hundreds of Aztec nobles during a religious festival.
Why?
The Spanish claim they feared an attack. More likely, they panicked or wanted to assert dominance, but it enrages the Aztecs. The city erupts in rebellion. Moctezuma dies, either killed by his own people for collaborating or by the Spanish. Cortez rushes back, but the Spanish are trapped.
So the Aztecs are fighting back.
Fiercely. On June 30th, 1520, a night called La Noche Triste, or the Sad Night, Cortez and his men try to escape Tenochtitlan. The Aztecs attack them on the causeways, hundreds of Spanish soldiers die, and thousands of their indigenous allies die.
So the Aztecs are winning.
They win that battle. But here comes the deadliest factor: disease. The Spanish bring smallpox, and the Aztecs have no immunity. Within months, a smallpox epidemic sweeps through Tenochtitlan, killing tens of thousands, possibly half the population.
That's devastating.
It's catastrophic. The new emperor, Cuitlahuac, dies from smallpox after only 80 days in power. The next emperor, Cuauhtemoc, takes over. But the empire is reeling.
So disease does what the Spanish couldn't.
It weakens them terribly. And Cortez regroups. He spends months building brigantines, small ships, to fight on the lake. He gathers more indigenous allies, eventually tens of thousands of warriors from Tlaxcala and other cities. And in May 1521, he lays siege to Tenochtitlan.
A siege?
They cut off food and water. They attack from the lake with the ships. They slowly fight their way into the city, destroying it block by block. The Aztecs fight desperately, women and children fighting alongside warriors. But they're outnumbered, weakened by disease, and running out of supplies.
This is heartbreaking.
It really is. On August 13th, 1521, after 93 days of siege, Cuauhtemoc surrenders. The Spanish capture him, and the Aztec Empire is over. The city is in ruins. Bodies fill the canals. The Spanish and their allies loot everything of value.
2 years from first contact to total collapse.
2 years. And within a generation, disease, warfare, and forced labor wipe out an estimated 80 to 90% of the indigenous population of Mexico. It's one of the greatest demographic catastrophes in human history.
That's almost unimaginable.
It is. But the Aztec legacy didn't completely die. The Spanish built Mexico City directly on top of Tenochtitlan. Modern Mexicans are descendants of both Spanish and indigenous peoples. Aztec words entered Spanish and then English. Chocolate, tomato, avocado, coyote, chili, and Aztec art, architecture, and culture are still celebrated in Mexico today.
So the empire ended, but the influence survived.
In some ways, yes. But it's a painful legacy. The loss of an entire civilization's independence and the near destruction of its people.
All right, we've covered the rise, the reign, and the fall of the Aztec Empire. This one's emotionally heavy, but there are lessons here. Charlie, what's yours?
Man, this is tough. But here it is. Internal divisions can destroy you faster than external enemies. The Aztecs had the military power to defeat Cortes, but their conquered subjects hated them so much that they allied with the Spanish. The lesson: you can't rule through fear alone. If people despise your system, they'll help tear it down the first chance they get.
Unity matters more than strength.
Exactly. You can be the strongest, but if nobody's on your side, you're vulnerable.
That's really good. Mine's about the danger of unknown threats. The Aztecs couldn't have prepared for smallpox. They didn't know diseases like that existed, but it destroyed them. The lesson? There are always threats you can't see coming. That's not about blame. It's about humility. No matter how powerful or prepared you think you are, there are things beyond your control or knowledge. Stay humble, stay adaptable, and don't assume you know every risk.
Expect the unexpected.
As much as you can, yes.
Both excellent. Mine's about cultural loss. When the Aztec Empire fell, we lost libraries, knowledge, art, stories, an entire civilization's wisdom. The lesson? Destruction is easy and fast. Creation and preservation are hard and slow. Whether it's empires, environments, or institutions, it takes generations to build something valuable and moments to destroy it. So we should think carefully before we tear things down.
Build carefully, destroy reluctantly.
Exactly.
That's beautiful.
This episode was intense.
It really was. The Aztec Empire was sophisticated, powerful, and flawed, like all empires, and its end was tragic and complicated.
But important to understand, these stories shape our world.
Absolutely. All right, next week we're going way back. Ancient Egypt. We're talking pharaohs, pyramids, mummies, and a civilization that lasted over 3,000 years. That's longer than any empire we've covered so far.
3,000 years. How is that even possible?
That's what we're going to figure out.
Can't wait. All right, that's it for today. Thanks for hanging with us on Blueprints of Power.
I'm Lily.
I'm Charlie.
And I'm Jack, and we'll see you next time. Peace out.